here from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Please give it up for Mr. Rad Hayes.
Yeah, if you saw the Facebook event for this before tonight, then you know that it said an all-star lineup of comedians, but he changed it to say a special guest lineup of comedians because he wanted to be more honest. Like you said, my name is Rad Hayes, and I think that the government should just stop fighting it and legalize it. Is anybody with me?
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah!
Wow, I didn't have any idea that many people in Knoxville supported cannibalism.
Yeah!
Let me ask you though then, like, is there a good neighborhood in the area to get like a meal? I should specify that I prefer the dark meat, because you know what they say, once you go black, stay with me guys, you're committing a hate crime for a meal. What the hell were you saying, man? That's not how it goes. I'm beginning to wonder if you guys are even really cannibals. I like practical jokes, man. We got, like, anybody else in here like some practical jokes?
Yeah!
A lot of times I get in trouble for, like, taking my jokes too far, though, right? Like, I had a buddy who got really stoned, and he watched all of the parts of The Godfather back to back. So then he thought that the mafia was after him. And so naturally, being a good friend, I kidnapped him. And I tied up his arms and his legs, and I put a bag over his head, but I didn't have, like, a cloth bag like you're supposed to use, so I used one of those really loud Sun Chips bags. And that was cracking me up, man, because every time he would breathe in and out, it would make the bag go in and out, and so he sounded like Darth Vader trying to keep himself from hyperventilating by breathing into a paper sack. And so, you know, I think that, like, he believed he was kidnapped, but he wasn't really freaking out. So I decided to make it worse, and I tied a cinder block to his ankles. And I drove him over to my buddy's house, who has this pond in his front yard, and I put him on the edge of the pond, and right before I pushed him in, I said, "Let's go, time to sleep with the fishes," because the only Italian accent that I know is from the Super Mario Brothers. But it's cool because he couldn't hear me anyway, so all he heard was the from the bag. And so I push him in, and the water only comes up to his belly button. And the dude whose house it was, who had the pond and everything, like, he starts cracking up. But he's got one of those laughs that you can't disguise, like one of those laughs that sounds like someone punching a chicken in the face repetitively. And so I was like, there's no way he thinks we're the mafia anymore. So I bend down and I pull the bag off his head, and I'll never forget, he looks up at me and he goes, "Whoa, Rad, I didn't know Hayes was an Italian name, man." Another time I was staying with my buddy Chris, and this other guy named Mark decided to stay with us, and Mark fell asleep first, and Chris was like, "Hey man, you know what would be really funny? If I got my nuts out and put them on his forehead, and then we took a picture." And I was like, if you want to, I guess that'd be cool. And so he goes to get the camera, and then I'm thinking about it, so when he goes to find the camera, I decide to find the super glue. And I put a nice thin layer on Mark's forehead, so by the time Chris gets back with the camera, you know, he just doesn't waste any time, just drops his pants, flops his nuts right on his forehead, but he holds his cock in his hand because, and I quote, "I don't want it to be gay or anything." And so then he starts messing with the camera, and that is all the time that the super glue needs. So when he takes the picture, the flash wakes Mark up. So Mark wakes up with something on his forehead and a cock in a hand over his face. So he does what anybody would do in that situation, and he sits up real fast. Not only did he have pubic hair glued to his forehead, he had some skin. And the funniest thing about the whole thing to me is that Chris had to go to the hospital, but so that he could put his pants back on, he had to put a maxi pad in his boxers to keep the bleach pin. And so now we call Mark Pubes, and we call Chris Stacy. Man, before I go, we've got this radio station that's out of the Nashville area, because I'm from Murfreesboro, that plays every Tuesday. They play 2 songs back to back by the same artist. And this last Tuesday, they played 2 songs by the Police. They played Every Breath You Take and Roxanne. And after listening to those 2 songs, my only question is, when is Sting going to decide what the hell he's doing with his voice? Like, you know, Every Breath You Take is like, he's got this nice, silky, smooth, every breath you take. And then on Roxanne, he completely flips the switch. This, Roxanne! Holy shit! Like, to me, I just don't understand how you make that big of a change. Like, that would be like if Steven Tyler had an Elvis mode. Dream on, dream on, dream on. The dream until your dreams come true. Thank you very much. The best part about that joke is my Sting impression and my Steven Tyler impression are like exactly the same. And they both just sound like if Guilford Godfrey was trying to sing. My name is Rad Hayes. You guys are great.
Give it up again for Rad Hayes, everybody.